It is now 5:30, and I would like to call the October 21st regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bucher.
Here.
Mr. Herrera.
Here.
Mrs. Hauk. Ms. Mayville.
Here.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Here.
Mr. Zickert.
Here.
At this time, I would like to administer the oath of office to Jeff Diestelmeyer, our newly appointed board member by the Regional Office of Education. Mr. Diestelmeyer, would you like to come to the front? My oath here. All right. I, Jeff Diestelmeyer, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Jeff Diestelmeyer, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Member of the Board of Education of Belvedere Community Unit, School District 100,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of member of the Board of Education of Belvedere Community Unit School District 100
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
I further swear or affirm that
I further swear or affirm that
I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Belvedere Community Unit School District 100.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Belvedere Community Unit School District 100.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community schools to advance the vision for Belvedere Community Unit School District 100.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community schools to advance the vision for Belvedere Community Unit School District 100.
And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Thank you. Congratulations. Can you take your seat?
Welcome.
All right. Next item. Do I have a motion and a second to go into closed executive session regarding Section 2, Heading C, Exception, Sub-Number 1 of the Open Meetings Act, to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, and for student disciplinary cases.
So moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Herrera and Mr. Booker. Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye. Okay. Before we reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education, I would like to take a minute to thank Mr. Zimmerson and the students from BHS for their sneak peek performance of Little Women. It's always a treat to have our talented students kick off our meetings, and I look forward to seeing their performance. So you guys can go ahead, spread out however you like.
Yes, we'll just introduce to everyone here. Yes, you're seeing a short snippet from our fall play, Little Women, a new adaptation by Kate Hamill. It's interesting because Little Women is a story that I think so many of us know from some point in our childhood or upbringing or whatever. But I love that this new adaptation makes it feel fresh. The player describes this play as not polite because, I mean, that's what happens when people go from little girls to little women. So in this scene, you're going to see Sophie Gyron and Layla Waters as Joe and Meg March arrive at the Mingott's Ball. Willow Simmons will be playing the role of Mrs. Mingott, and later you will see Spencer Patton in the role of Lori Lawrence. I'll let them take it away.
Do I look alright?
Don't ask me for womanish opinions, Meg. I never say the right thing.
Just keep it simple as, oh, Joe, your hair looks so nice.
Oh, Meg, I like your dress.
Mommy says I may have silk when I'm married, but I'll be so old by the time that happens.
I should hope so. What?
Why are you holding your pop like that?
Just a rip in the seat.
Can't you hold your gloves over
I
it?
spilt lemonade on them.
And what is this?
A burn, I think.
Joe, just stand at the wall,
Okay.
but don't breathe or bounce or say Christopher Columbus or stare or anything
Meg.
else.
Tell you what, if you see me doing anything wrong, just give me a poke.
Poking isn't ladylike. I'll give a cough like this.
Really?
Mrs. Megan is coming, Joe. Stand normally. Not normally, Joe. Appropriately.
You're Miss March. Miss Josephine. Are you all right?
Oh, yes.
The governess is at the ball. And my heavens, don't you look...
Thank you.
Cinderella before the godmother. Well, poof, here I am. I was just...
Alcazar.
Oh! Now you stay right there. Stay! Meg, you can't see without your glasses.
I can so.
How many fingers am I holding up?
Don't be ridiculous.
You're blind! Half naked and blind!
Don't talk to me like I'm Amy Josephine. I am your elder. And what's more, I am acting like a lady. Ow!
Miss March! I've conjured up a lovely little prince. Mr. Brooks, Meg.
The Lawrence boys' tutor.
As Miss March is our governess, you two should have plenty to talk about. Lesson plans and trigonometry and stuff. And Miss Josephine. I'll pick up some creature for you. Some way. Somehow. Now you stay right there. Stay! Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my god. I'll go.
No, stay and I'll go.
Oh, if I disturbed you, I'm so sorry.
I only ducked in there to you know,
Escape?
a fellow refugee then.
Please don't go. Unless your brother.
I believe I've had the pleasure of seeing you before, madam.
I believe you live next door, Sarah.
How's your sister, Miss March?
No, she's fine, Mr. Lawrence. But I'm not Miss March. I'm Joe.
I'm not Mr. Lawrence. I'm Lawrence.
Lori Lawrence? That's terrible. Terrible. Terrific.
The boys, they teased me and called me Dora, so I thrashed them into saying Laurie instead.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I've never thrashed anybody. Yet.
Tell you a secret? I hate Josephine's school. You see?
Thanks awfully. These palms hurt like the devil.
All right. So you can see the full thing this weekend. Our show opens this Friday at 7 p.m. at the District 100 Performing Arts Center. And we perform Friday at 7 and Saturday at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So thank you so much. There are flyers out in the entryway.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Hadley, did you get a picture already? Ms. Hadley,
Thank you. Appreciate
you got a picture? You're giving the hall? Okay, thank you. Don't let him get away.
All right, it is now 6:15. We are out of closed executive session. We will reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education with the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booker.
Here.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Herrera.
Here.
Mrs. Hauk. Ms. Maybell.
Here.
Mrs. Whitcomb. Here. Mr. Zickert.
Here.
All right, before we start the regular meeting, as a reminder, all board members are expected to follow our approved meeting norms and board protocol. Are there any items on the agenda any board members would like to amend or move? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on October 21st, 2024 as presented?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Herrera, Mr. Booker, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb. Mr. Zickert. Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Ms. Maybell.
Aye. All right, time for district celebrations. First up is Elizabeth Gonzalez from BHS, Physics Teacher of the Year. Is Elizabeth here tonight? Okay. On behalf of the Executive Council of the Illinois section of the American Association of Physics Teachers, Elizabeth Gonzalez has been awarded the association's Physics Teacher of the Year Award for the 23-24 school year. The award is given annually to a high school teacher through the Illinois section of the American Association of Physics Teachers. Elizabeth received a formal citation, a plaque, and a check for $200 at the association's fall meeting on October 11th through 12th, hosted at Rockford University. Once nominated, teachers complete an application and are rated based on their philosophy of teaching, student impact, professional development, assisting other teachers, and teaching innovations. And we would like to thank Principal Billy Lewis for nominating Elizabeth for this award. So congratulations, Elizabeth. Our next celebration is Joanne Armstrong. Joanne's sitting right over there. She is our Chief Financial Officer for District 100. She was spotlighted in the latest edition of ASBO International Accent. Here's just a small portion of the article that outlines Mrs. Armstrong's contributions. In 2000, Joanne Armstrong applied for a bus dispatch position at the district where her child was in kindergarten. 22 years later, she became Chief Financial Officer. The article highlighted how Mrs. Armstrong uses the trust and inspire approach with her team members and ensures they are equipped to find their own solutions. So congratulations, Joanne. All right, I'll turn it over to Dr. Shug for our staff shout-outs.
All right. The following people have been nominated by their peers for going above and beyond in District 100. If you are here this evening, please come forward when we call your name. We will start with Jessica Ferguson from Perry Elementary School. Jessica is a new addition to D100 and Perry this year. Office professionals have a lot of responsibilities on a daily basis, plus extras during the month of August before students return to school. Jessica jumped right in, was eager to learn, and is doing amazing for being here for such a short time. She's always friendly and helpful, both on the phone and in person. Thank you to Jessica. Kelly Dunn from Washington. Kelly has been a positive role model in my life. She is hardworking, flexible, and is always making our team laugh. She's been in District 100 for 30 years. We love and appreciate her, and this was submitted by Brooke Sanford. Cooper White, also from Washington Academy. All right. I had a chance meeting with a parent of a student in Mrs. White's classroom. The parent was so ecstatic and complimentary about the Washington Early Childhood Program and specifically Mrs. White's room. He talked about how his daughter comes home every day happy and tells him and his wife about how much she is learning. The school year just started and early childhood is knocking it out of the park. Leslie Pascola from Central Middle School. Mrs. Pascola was one of my biggest supporters during my 8th grade year of middle school. It was a really hard year for me, and she was there no matter what. She made sure to support me in any way she could, whether that was just listening or resolving conflicts, not to mention that she was arguably the best dean of students that Central Middle School has ever seen. She then moved to the assistant principal role at Central Middle School and is rocking that job as well. It is miraculous how well she manages student relationships as well as balancing a busy schedule with grace. She will always have a special place in my heart as in my educational journey. She makes her students as well as the staff that came before her very proud every day. District 100 should be thrilled to have her in the district. Tim Brooks from South. It's short and sweet, but impactful. He is a great person and does a lot. Yay, Tim. Lisa DeJong. Mrs. DeJong is a dedicated, caring professional who made a difference in our daughter's life last year. She worked with her tirelessly to support her and our whole family with her patience and kindness. She was always there lifting us up and helping us to be successful. We are grateful for the work you do for kids and what you did for our daughter. Thank you. Scott Ramsby, also from South Middle School. Mr. Ramsby worked with our daughter last school year and helped her get through a difficult year. We appreciate how he never gave up, worked tirelessly and so patiently. Thank you so much for all you do to support her. You never gave up, and the work you do makes a huge difference in students' lives. Hannah Rongstad, Rob Wesselhoff, and Corinne Wesselhoff. North High School. They took initiative to start Special Olympics in Belvedere District 100 for students in Essential Elements programs at BHS and North. They are called Buck Thunder, and they've worked diligently to provide students with opportunities to compete in basketball, track, and bowling. They have made connections with the North basketball team and BHS track team to create inclusive opportunities for our Essential Elements students. We are very proud of this team of individuals who build family and community partnerships and exhibit service excellence. Such opportunities bring big smiles on the faces of the students, their parents, and everyone involved. Thank you and congratulations. Frank and Marcy Aldani from North High School. These two are probably the reason my daughter likes school and plays tennis. Both are very supportive and get to know the students. Both are very down to earth and both have a passion for what they do. Although I haven't been in the classroom to see Mr. Aldani shine, the stories my daughter shared shows he's real with kids. He challenges them to think, supports their ideas, and encourages them to do their best. Coach Aldani is a wonderful coach for the girls' JV tennis team. She cares about the players, she helps guide them to improve and grow, and she celebrates their successes. I saw this when my older daughter played, and I see it with my sophomore. Kudos to both of these great humans that, in my opinion, deserve to be recognized and appreciated by the district. Megan Zanacco, Jessica Graffi, and Jan Jurek. Central Office. This is a brand new team who is learning about the community and special education programming in District 100, but at the same time, the team collaborates constantly, provides assistance to building staff, including administration, is visible and supportive. Not to mention, regular communication with families, and our ongoing efforts for excellent provision of special education services. Thank you to the team for their collaborative and solution-focused spirit. And Colin Kroll, Martin Ayala, Eric Verhagen, and Matt Pontaha, our maintenance team. I wanted to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for the exceptional teamwork and dedication these gentlemen have shown over the past few weeks in addressing the issues with our air conditioning at Washington Elementary. Their commitment to ensuring a comfortable learning environment for our early childhood students reflects a genuine concern for their well-being. My paraprofessional and I appreciated their frequent check-ins and continued problem solving that resulted in a significant improvement in our classroom, and of course our students were in awe every time they visited. Submitted by Belinda Roberts, who's out there in our audience. Thank you. Those are our board shout outs for this evening, and we are so happy to have all of you here with us tonight, and thank you for all the great work you do for D100.
Thank you.
Yay, thank
you,
you.
folks.
Okay. Next up, we have our student council representatives from our high schools to share what is happening in our District 100 schools. Do we have Jocelyn, is it Snowda? Tell me how to say your last name, Jocelyn.
It's Sonoma.
Oh, yay, okay.
Alright. Good evening, board members, parents, staff, and community members. My name is Jocelyn Sonoda, and this is your school board update for the month of October 2024. Washington Academy. Over the past month, Washington Academy has been making great strides in implementing our CHAMPS expectations, fostering a positive learning environment for all students. We recently completed our playwork training for new aides and other staff, enhancing the recess experience for everyone. Additionally, our 4th and 5th junior coaches are actively supporting younger students while developing their leadership skills. It's been a fantastic start to the year. Go Wildcats! Meehan Elementary School. This month, our kindergarten and 1st grade classes have enjoyed some field trips that brought their classroom lessons to life by exploring local orchards, and pumpkin patches. Our students have enjoyed this opportunity, and it has been great to hear them share about their experiences. I am also proud of the continuation of our junior coaches program. Selected students have taken on leadership roles during recess, guiding their peers in games and fostering an inclusive recess environment. In our classrooms, students are hard at work on their personal goal setting. Teachers are helping them identify their strengths and areas for growth, empowering them to take ownership of their learning journey. Looking ahead, we are excited to host our Meehan Truck or Treat event. This will be a wonderful opportunity for our Meehan families to come together, share treats, and celebrate the fall season. South Middle School. We are off to a good start at SMS. Our overall attendance percentage is slightly down this year from last, about 1%. So we are focusing on raising that percentage. However, our failures are also down about 40% from last year at this time. Through October, students have had the opportunity to participate in 12 different clubs or sports, and participation has been excellent. Go Bucks! Belvedere High School. Through the first week of October for the 24-25 school year, BHS students are passing 30% more classes and have 60% fewer tardies compared to one school year ago. The implementation of Daily Win, weekly late start for teaching collaboration, a school-wide no cell phone policy during class time, the introduction of Link Crew for freshmen, and a general great effort by staff and students are all contributing factors. We look forward to a strong finish to the first quarter later this month. Everest High School. Everest students are finishing up exploring the driving question, should space exploration be privatized or controlled by governments? They have built Mars rovers, relived the War of the Worlds radio hysteria, and launched eggs across the field trying to keep them from breaking to simulate spacecraft landings. Working with the Belvedere Park District, we also worked on interview skills, which resulted in 2 students being offered positions with the 3rd base program. Go Yaks! Yeah, we are still working on coming up with a school mascot. Keep that. Thank you.
right, we will now hear from Leilani Mora from Belvedere North High School.
Hello, and good evening. Here are the board reports for the month of October. So at North, we had an awesome homecoming that included our parade, dress-up days, movie on the football field, and have a great dance. Last week, also hosted our Halloween carnival for our community where tons of future Blue Thunder kids came and played different games hosted by our clubs. We are looking forward to our fall play this weekend called Little Women, which was seen earlier this day. Finally, we have had a great start to fall sports, including the first ever Girls Golf Conference Championship by our Belvedere Co-op team. Now at BCMS, students enjoyed a fun game with their friends hosted by PBIS on October 8th. NJHS had our introduction ceremony on October 16th to welcome the new members to the society. The soccer team had an excellent season to celebrate. The A team earned first in NCJC conference and won the NCJC championship tournament. The B team also earned first place in conference. The cross-country team is making history at BCMS. Both the girls and boys team won the IESA sectionals meet on Saturday on October 12th. The team competed at state race in Bloomington. Now at SWES has been very busy with this month. Our new aides and our junior coaches were trained with the playworks for recess. Everyone seemed very excited and their rollout has been very well received. Our PTO hosted a MAC teacher night and we had a wonderful turnout. We kicked off October with our PTO race for education at BNHS. The students had a blast running the track and participating in fun stations along the way. We held a PT conference on 10/17. We have another meeting 10/24. Parents are welcome into the building to meet with teachers. At Perry, they completed their fall math assessment and Panorama student survey for 3rd and 5th graders. Also, we recently celebrated Custodian Appreciation Day at Perry Spirit Week. They're excited for the end of October lineup, starting with our sectional annual Blue Hop on Thursday, October 23rd, and their Trunk or Treat on Tuesday, October 29th. They look forward to the 5th graders' Fine Art Festival and the Red Ribbon Week during the week of the 21st. Go Panthers. And then at Lincoln this Friday, they have a race for education on October 24th. That is when they will be hosting a fall festival family night featuring PBO Candy Bingo and math and reading centers, including read-alouds by our Lincoln teachers and admin. Also recently had a fire drill with the fire department and went very smoothly. The students have been busy earning their awards. Their 3rd and 4th graders met their SEL goal. They won a classroom prize for having no major incident referrals for the entire month of September. They're continuing to work hard throughout the October to keep the positive momentum going. Now at Caledonia, they had a kindness assembly where the students learned a valuable lesson about being kind and considering towards one another. Continuing to build on this incorporating playwork strategies during recess, which have been very effective in the promoting positive interactions and inclusive play. Also, amazing students and families have helped raise over $8,000 during our recent fun run. Looking ahead, they have fun events coming up to the next week, including our fall parties and a trunk or treat.
Thank you, Leilani. Oh, congratulations.
Good luck, good luck.
That's awesome.
All right. Next on the agenda, we will have our board committee report, starting with facilities and long-range planning from September 19th and October 17th. Anyone have any questions, anything they want to highlight or share regarding those meetings? All right, business services on October 1st. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Herrera or Mr. Bucher? Very good. Ed services on October 2nd. Anyone have any questions for me? Questions about the minutes? All right. Parent-teacher advisory on October 2nd. Any questions from Mrs. Whitcomb or anything she would like to highlight? Okay, moving right along. Next up, we have Corey Cowan of Gorns and Associates to provide the board with our financial audit presentation. Welcome, Corey.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi there. Thank you.
All right, I think Julian's handing out the board presentation. I'll be focusing on that. It looks like everybody has the bound copy of the audit report that came out last week. I will mainly be focusing on the packet here that just kind of gives a recap, some historical information, how the year went, and everything like that. So I'll go ahead and get started. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask away as I go. To start here, so on the board presentation, what we really focus on, what ISB really focuses on, would be the four main operating funds, so Ed O&M, transportation, working cash. So we start with the total equity, we pull out the restricted funds, then get down to our operating fund balance, which would be 89 million. You can see here on the bottom half of this page, budgeted actual revenues and expenses. You can see where education 109 to 105, O&M had the deficit 9.4 to 11.3. Then transportation, a lot of the transportation increase there was just the state catching up on categoricals and making everything whole. So that was just kind of a timing of revenues there. Then financial profile score 3.9. The only thing at this point that lowers that score from a 4.0 is the amount of long-term debt that's outstanding within the district. Takes off a 10th of a point. Still the highest category that the best offer. The next page here is a recap of the revenues and expenditures within the four operating funds. Revenues went up 14 million to 130 million during the year. Federal sources, the main increase in federal sources was essentially the ending of ESSER. The final expenditures of the ESSER grant, which was the COVID-related grant. Now that those are coming to an end, we're going to see those federal sources come down quite a bit. Expenditures went up about 12 million, so in total we're still up about 4.8 million from FY23 to FY24. The increase is about 1.4. And then the next page here, a little bit small there, but just more of a breakdown of those revenue sources. Obviously the largest decrease that the district had, that every district in the state had, would have been replacement taxes. In FY24, those decreased by about 25-26%. Interest earnings, investment income obviously was up quite a bit with where the rates were during FY24. So again, overall, 115 million to 130 million total revenues received in the operating funds. And then the next few pages here, just to look at the revenue sources. So as we look at the current year, federal sources would have been inflated a little bit with the ESSER funding there. Typically, those are more around the 6-7% range, federal sources. But most of the sources, about 70%, comes from real estate taxes, local real estate taxes, and evidence-based funding. And then we'll look at the revenue sources over the last 5 years. Steady incline in real estate taxes, evidence-based funding, steady incline there as well. And then you can see other local revenue. Again, that would have been kind of a peak in replacement taxes during the COVID time, coming back down, starting to come back down. And then federal sources, obviously, again, would be ESSER, kind of peaking there in FY24. The next few pages are expenditure based, so look at expenditures by fund, by object, and then total within the operating funds. We did go from 112 million to 125 million of expenditures. Vast majority of those expenditure increases would have been on salaries and benefits. So about 11.2% increase in expenditures from FY23 to FY24. And then the current year sources of expenditures, 73%, very, very common in any district to see 70 to 75% of all expenditures within salaries and benefits. And then over the last 5 years, you can see kind of those steady inclines
on the salaries and benefits, with everything else relatively similar. Other objects would be special education costs in that last category there. And then a look at revenues and expenses over the last 5 years. So over the last 4 years, been in surplus years. So 130 to 125 there in 24, and you can see the prior 4 years. Not since 2020. We had a little bit of a deficit that year. The years since then have been surplus years. Then operating fund balances, you can see the steady incline there. Again, this would be the ending cash and investment balances of the district in those operating funds. So again, up to 89.1 million in those four operating funds there. Then the last page here would just be a look at your assessed valuation tax rate. So another steady inclines in the assessed valuation leads to a drop in the total tax rate. With the increase in assessed valuation, we're still looking at about a $2.9 million increase in our levy, this current year levy. That's received. So that's the presentation I have. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything on the audit report or anything in general?
Just one real quick on the levy. We always look at the levy, I mean, we talk about it going down, which is good, which is, on paper, looks good.
Sure.
But in reality, because of tax caps and whatever, the last year, we could do the 5%. Now this year, next year, we won't be able to do that much. I understand that. But when people see their property taxes go up and can't understand why the tax rates are down, why those two happen, is it fair to say it's because your assessed valuations are going up, and that more than compensates for, the rate has to go down because you can't go up over the 5% or whatever the other limit is.
Yeah, it's been pretty common over the last couple of years to see those assessed valuations continue to increase, which in theory you could have a flat. It doesn't, as long as that assessed valuation continues to go up and up, the rate will go down, but those taxes will continue to stay the same or rise where the levy ends up.
One last question, because I've always wanted to know the answer to this. Whenever they talk about designations, they talk about, okay, how much money do you have to operate?
Mm-hmm.
And back in the old days, the general rule was 2 months. Now it's being a little bigger than that.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're way past the 2 months, which isn't a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I always look at that, does that count not getting any money, period, or does that count just state money? Because I'm thinking 37% of our money comes from real estate taxes, and as I paid my tax bills, I don't see that ending anytime soon.
Right, it wouldn't, not the local sources, right? So in the profile score, that would be just the ISB, essentially the ISB categoricals of the profile score. So they look at months on hand. If you get over that 6 months on hand, then you get that perfect score within that category.
Okay.
So there's a few different categories that make up that 4.0. Days on hand, revenues over expenditures, long-term debt that make up that 4.0. So that profile score would be based off of that, utilizing that for months on hand for that.
Okay. You can tell I like this stuff. Sorry for asking questions.
Anything else for Corey? All right, thanks for joining us tonight.
Okay, yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comment. At this time, members of the public and employees of District 100 may make public comments. As a reminder, any person appearing before the board is expected to address the board only at the appropriate time and follow the directives of the board president to maintain order and decorum. Identify oneself, limit comments to 3 minutes, and conduct oneself according to board policy 8:30, visitors to and conduct on school property. We have one person who signed up for public comment tonight, Mr. Hauser.
Thank you. I had a longer speech, but I realized it would take a lot more than 3 minutes, so I called it down to 3 questions. One, and he mentioned it there, we spend more money every year, more than the state median. Why do the test scores continue to be poor? We are in the bottom 50% in the state. And along with that, how are we checking that we're actually improving month to month or quarter to quarter or something? Second question, why are we contemplating spending close to $9 million on Perry School, which has around 200 students, which translates to around $39,000 per student, when those students will fit in other existing schools? If the school was exemplary, I don't know that I would have an argument, but the problem is the school is the same as every other school we have. And they are all in, well, the majority of them are in the bottom 50% in the state. Third question, has the addition to the school board been filled? I dropped off a letter and I haven't heard anything. So that's my question, that's the last one, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. Anyone else for public comment?
Hello. Members of the board, my name is Colin Clausen. I'm a parent of two students in the district. Everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm here today to speak out against the updated language in the Board of Education Policy 2.265 Title IX grievance procedure that reflects the 2024 regulatory language that was finalized earlier this spring. Basically, as its constitutionality is currently very much at issue. Board members, unless I have a fundamental misunderstanding of the implications of D100's adoption of the new language in the board policies regarding grievances, this is a highly controversial matter. Both across the nation and in this community. My understanding is that presently 26 states in the country are covered under statewide injunctions against the implementation of the new regulations. And because of other injunctive action, dozens and dozens of Illinois schools and hundreds of schools from other states without statewide injunctions are also brought through the implementation. Further, my understanding is that D100 is not required to update its language at this time. So I urge you not to. Let this matter play out, keep an even hand, and act when you can reasonably expect to understand what the new regulatory environment is. The 2020 Title IX grievance procedure presently reflected under 2.265 seems to be perfectly adequate until the matter is settled. Again, I urge you not to update the district's policy language under such circumstances. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, moving on. Next on the agenda are consent items. Are there any items on the consent agenda any members of the board would like to take out for separate consideration? Hearing none. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 2 through 14 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Herrera and Mr. Zickert. Any discussion? At this time, I would like to acknowledge the following donations. $100 from Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories for Belvedere Central Middle School, and a 2007 Honda Ridgeline from James James Ontengo.
Yeah.
Thank you. For Belvedere High School Automotive Department. Sorry, James, I mangled your name. Thank you, Mr. Zickert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb. Ms. Mayville.
Aye. Okay. Next up, our roll call action items. First up are revisions to existing Board of Education policies. Are there any revisions to the existing Board of Education policies any members of the board would like to take out for separate consideration? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to approve revisions to existing Board of Education policies 1 through 6 as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All right, I will second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess based on the public comment, just, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, which is very possible, because there's, policies, I mean, I read the one, it's just footnote changes. Am I missing something that's more important than that, or, I mean, I don't know.
So we are taking the press recommendations, yes, and it's mostly footnote references that are made, that are the changes in this particular policy. Certainly if the board would like us to take it back and have it reviewed, we could absolutely do that for anything otherwise.
So am I reading, just
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, am I reading this to say that we're just, the legal references and stuff, the footnote changes are basically all that's changing? Okay.
We'll have to
Excuse
go
me.
back 2 meetings to
Yeah.
be sure of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Right.
and I don't have the press information in front of me, but that is what, and I'm pulling up the previous policy minutes, so why don't you just give me a second?
I was gonna say, I don't
The
see a red
policy
line
and
there.
footnotes are updated in response to the final regulations implementing Title IX. I don't see the red line reference here either. So we would have to go back and look at the red line reference in order to definitively confirm that. And if the board would like us to do that, we can certainly do that and return to that. Or not.
I don't have any need to go back and look at the red line. This is pretty standard.
This would be the second time we're reviewing this?
Yes.
Second reading?
The second reading.
Nothing came up at policy, Mr. Zickert?
No,
regarding
I thought it just said the footnotes were the only things that changed in the references, but I didn't, I'll be honest with you, when we get the policies and it says footnote and
Yeah.
reference changes, I'm not gonna lie, I don't delve into the inquiry on that.
Why we have
It
press.
says footnote and reference
Correct.
policy, I take it for what it's written down, so that's what
So nobody has any,
Fair enough.
any insight as to what we think the controversial item might be? I guess that
Well,
would be.
I suspect I know what the controversial item might be, but I'm not going to attempt to read the speaker's mind. Any further discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera,
Aye.
Ms. Maybell,
Aye.
Mr. Bucher,
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer,
Aye.
Mr. Zickert,
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No.
Motion passes. Next up, EHS Stadium Building Naming. Let me get back on the right meeting here. There we go. All right. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the BHS Stadium Building name as the Mike Hearn Stadium Building as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? I know we have Nancy here. Thanks for coming tonight.
I mean,
It's an honor that this is being done. I just appreciate all of you for bringing it to fruition.
I can tell you, I don't think it deserves, there's not a better name that it deserves at all. Well deserved by a guy, and we could name it after his wife too, and that'd be very appropriate too. All the Mike and Nancy are one, but that's a whole other story.
For sure.
But I do think, my only comment on this is that I know we had a process issue, and I hope, I'm pretty sure it's corrected, but I think I'd much rather approve this before the fundraiser, and I think we've gotten that down now, and like I said before, I think it's one of the best things we've done.
I second that. We appreciate everything you and Mike have done for our district.
Board President,
Yeah, please.
I would like to thank all the people that helped through the committee and doing the presentation that was attached to your document. There were a lot of people there that were speaking of Coach Hearn, and my experiences with Coach Hearn in the early 2000s here. Never thought I would be in this place where I would be in this position to be able to do this. So it was such an honor on my part to be part of that committee and putting together that PowerPoint. And so I do thank you, Nancy, and Coach Hearn was an incredible man and incredible educator. I didn't know him necessarily so much as the coach side, but the impact he had on kids and those drivers ed vehicles. I remember him so well and so fondly. But the participants, Mr. Heiser, Attorney Tobin, Josh Sternquist, Tom Booker, myself, Amy Nord. I know I'm probably Billy Lewis. I'm probably forgetting people, but there was not anyone on that committee that could not stand behind this, and I think it was very evident in the public outpour of over $80,000 collected for this opportunity. So I want to thank everybody for their time and the effort they put into this, and thank you for bringing this forward to us to consider.
Thank you, Mrs. Armstrong. Roll call, please.
All right, Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
And Ms. Maybell.
Aye. All right. Next up, do I have a motion and a second to adopt the Proclamation for American Education Week, November 18th through 22nd, 2024, as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Herrera and Mr. Zickert. Any discussion? Am I supposed to read any sort of proclamatory thing?
Well, we could read a little proclamatory thing.
We
if
don't
we
have
wanted
to.
But, but basically, we are very excited to honor our educators. The first observance of American Education Week occurred December 4th through the 10th, 1921. And annually, we celebrate this this week, and we will be doing so again this year. We are very proud of all of our public educators here in D100. And we appreciate this opportunity to take this time to recognize them publicly.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Ms. Maybell.
Aye. All right, next up, Facilities Master Plan. I'm going to hold off on a motion right now, and we'll do discussion on this first. I know we have a original priorities projects list, and then we have a priorities projects list with high school additions that was uploaded today. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Shug right now to talk about that a little bit.
All right, so as discussed at the October 3rd special board meeting, the administration is here this evening requesting approval for the Facilities Master Plan years 1 through 3 as outlined in that priority project list that we went over in detail at that October 3rd meeting. Also at that October 3rd board meeting, there was some discussion about ensuring that all of the sites had their feedback heard. We have provided many opportunities for the sites to be engaged in providing us some feedback, but we did reach out again to them, and I'm going to discuss that here in just a few minutes. The plan outlines the initial scope of the facilities master plan as indicated by the board in terms of those pieces that they most wanted to see. It includes 20.8 million in health life safety projects, 2 million in non-health life safety projects, relocation of the health clinic to allow for an expansion of Everest High School, and Tier 2 improvements at Perry Elementary School. These projects are anticipated to cost approximately $30.6 million over the course of the next 3 years. Funding would be secured through health life safety bonds and the transfer of $10 million to the operations and management fund balance per the district's commitment to the completion of the highest priority needs for the district. Approval of the plan would allow the administration to begin the process of bidding out these projects and preparing for the funding of these projects. All projects, really important, we're just looking for approval tonight of the plan. All projects over $35,000 would be brought before the board for individual approval over the next 3 years. This just really gives the administration the direction that is needed in terms of what the board feels are the highest priorities. That initial scope includes 23 million approximately in those highest priority need projects that are delineated by year in terms of when in those first 3 years each one of those would be executed, and the length of the project in that priority document that you have in your attachments. After reaching out again to the administration after that October 3rd special board meeting, both high schools shared some additional priorities, which we do have highlighted in the priority projects list with the high school additions there. We spent some additional time walking through that over this past couple of weeks. So in the list, there's a total of $250,000 in additional spending, which brings that project total spend up to $31.8 million. The projects identified by the high schools included cafeteria tables and dugouts at BHS and athletic support at North High School, to include a Porter Power Torch 5, which essentially allows for gym retractable equipment to be done in a more timely way to avoid any additional time that is spent in terms of our physical education staff and or additional storage options. We had a great deal of discussion with the North High School team regarding concerns about storage and how we might be able to better utilize some of the spaces there at North for our athletic program by utilizing some better storage options. However, there is not an option that we felt was cost effective at this point to bring forward. And that is really something that we would look to do in our master plan efforts in years 4 through 10. However, with the $50,000 that is allocated there, we would at least have the opportunity to explore some of those options. So the administration is seeking approval of the priority projects either in Master List 1 or the priority projects with the high school additions. Either of those two pieces would give the administration the opportunity to move forward on next steps for those projects. I know you are seeing those high school projects here initially really for the first time. I know the board was very interested in making sure we thoroughly vetted that, so we did try to do that, again, under a relatively short time frame to do that due diligence to the best of our ability. Thoughts, comments, questions, additional information. We do have Mr. Winters here as well to help speak to some of any individual questions on any of those line items.
I guess looking at the line items, I know we talked a lot about this a lot. I guess, and then I went to my first facilities long-range planning meeting last Thursday, and I was part of the discussion even before that. I guess for me, is there a rationale? I mean, I get the part that we approve a blanket thing out there, like a big balloon of all this stuff in there. then we come back and we approve it individually later. I do understand that part of it. It's over 35,000. I know we gotta come back and improve it. I guess my question is, or part of my concern is, that when we approve this stuff all at one time, I worry that it's not a done deal, but we're gonna do it one way or the other, and I'm concerned that there may be other items that pop up that we may have to spend money on. I mean, I sat at the facilities plan and heard a argument from an administrator, we may need to spend some money on 2 of our other buildings that may take precedence on some other stuff in here that aren't on the list. And I'm concerned that when we allocate money for this, then we don't have money for that, so to speak. So, I mean, I'm fine with the things that we know, the HVAC and all that stuff and secure entrance, I'm fine with all that stuff. I just think that when we approve it as a blanket, we're giving blanket approval to everything, when I have concerns that, intentional or not, we may have to do some very significant money on a couple other schools, based on what I heard Thursday.
Well, I think these are really good points, Mr. Zickert, and definitely something that is front of mind for us and been a part of our conversations, Mrs. Armstrong and Mr. Winters, that this gives us, again, a direction, but we know we are going to need to continue to evaluate our financial situation and to prioritize as we move through this. So this is what we would feel was the board direction and guidance in terms of how the initial scope has been seen by the board. But definitely, as we have additional projects that come forward, we're gonna have to work within our budget to make those pieces happen. So yes, I mean, we are aware of that.
I guess part of my problem is, and I don't mean to go back to the old times, but I think you have to look at history sometime too. That's why I taught it for so many years, is that 2 years ago, or 2.5, it was almost over 2 years ago, or around 2 years ago, we got the debatable RFQ that we took on the surface and ended up costing us $600,000 later that we weren't sure of. So I guess I'm have trepidation about giving blanket agreement to things that, I'm fine with approving 90% of what's in there. It's just some of the stuff I think I want to leave a little wiggle room for later, and I'm not sure why we need to approve it now. And I know we're not technically approving it now, we're technically approving it later, I get that part. But I still think that once you say you're gonna do it, the chances of it getting done are a lot better.
I
hope so.
Well, I do appreciate that. I do think the difference between the services we contracted for with the facilities long-range plan and the master planning, the difference there is the work had been completed. So that's why we paid that bill, because we had received the benefit of those services. I do think, at least at the facilities committee, we have talked about the fact that, if the roof caves in at Meehan unexpectedly, I would expect Mrs. Armstrong to come to the board and say, okay, the roof is caved in at Meehan. This is $500,000. We need, administration's recommendation is to push items A, B, C, X, Y, and Z out to year, whatever, 4 or 5, so that we can deal with those roof repairs. So I do think we have, and I appreciate the fact that once you have something in a document, it makes it more likely to be done. But I also think that's part of the benefit of this. In past years, some of these things have fallen through the cracks, and we have ended up spending more money now because some things have fallen through the cracks. So I do think this list is a good idea, because it does provide the board and the administration with a reference, and I hope it'll be a rolling reference. And I would expect that not all of these projects will be completed years 1 through 3, or perhaps all of them will be plus some. I would expect and hope that we see this list at least as a board update every month to show us what has been completed, what is kind of on the docket to go up next, and perhaps what might need to be pushed out because we have had some unexpected expenses. But I would really like to see the board pass this because I do think it provides both the board and the administration with at least a roadmap with some guide rails. And again, with the expectation that we will continue to see this every month.
So I have a question. I didn't attend the facilities meeting, but I just looked again. I thought maybe I missed something. I didn't know there were concerns brought up at Thursday's meeting. I don't see any mention of, well, maybe it wasn't concerns. I don't want to misstate how Matt just shared it, but I don't see anything in there about an administrator bringing up, concern on Thursday about things we might have to spend money on. Is that what? I guess I would just ask what that was about.
Mr. Zickert, was there something you were specifically referencing at the facilities and long-range planning meeting?
Yeah. I don't want to get us too far off topic, but okay. Yeah, I guess there were some concerns about some of our early childhood facilities that may need to be addressed. And
Oh, yes.
They were gonna be, I don't see those as, I see those as, I'm not saying they're expensive, but they are, could be sizable expenditures, and I don't want them to go unnoticed, so to speak. I guess I don't know how to put it a better way.
They weren't new concerns. They were concerns that the board has heard about in the past, the challenges that early childhood has with the current facilities they are in. But they were not new.
I guess for me, is that there's, and I'm not trying to trying to wordsmith or whatever, but I get the challenging part, I do understand that. And if that's what they are, I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to argue either way. But when they're expressed as safety concerns, that bothers me a little more. And I expressed that to Dr. Shug a few days, actually the day after. Because I thought about it and thought that if they really are truly safety concerns, I'm not saying they're not. They very truly may be. That those are things that are immediate concerns, not, 2 or 3 years down the road, we'll take care of it kind of things. And I'm not trying to argue they're one or the other. Those are things like that I want to be prepared to be able to do on the fly, so to speak.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I did not know that was what you're referencing, but
Oh,
you
I'm
absolutely talked about that with us. And we definitely need to make sure that we are always addressing safety concerns as they come up.
What are those safety concerns?
The concerns were some of our bathrooms, for example, for our early childhood students are not appropriately sized. So students are, having to, stand on stools and things like that. So these are issues that we know we need to address as we keep our early childhood students in Washington and Caledonia, at least over the course of the next 3 years and perhaps longer, that we can't not address some of those concerns. So
I'm not sure how to phrase the question. So if, as you just said and acknowledged, those are things that we're aware of and that we would need to do something about. Do we have a dollar amount? Have we vetted out what the costs are? Why are they not included in this first phase if we know, well, we can't wait 4 years, right, obviously, or till year 4 and whatever comes in year 4 for early childhood. What information are we going to be provided, or when will we be provided information about how we're going to address those safety concerns?
So we have been in conversation with early childhood, and we are aware that our buildings are not sized appropriately for some of our very youngest learners. So as we have continued to work through that in terms of playgrounds and bathrooms and those spaces, we know that we are going to need to continue to make some of those modifications. They will be, do you want to speak at all to that, Mr. Winters?
We can do in the interim between now and when the board decides where EDCs can have under a permanent home. One of the issues is toilets. Toilets are too tall. We can put in smaller toilets that are right-sized for the students. Some of the classrooms have bathrooms inside the classrooms. That's probably where we'd start. One of the stopgap measures we did is we ordered a bunch of toilet seats that can be used between early childhood and then the rest of the students, up until I think 2nd grade. The playground. We contacted our vendor to give us some options that we can use to supplement what we have. So we can, the biggest thing is that typically a playground and an EC playground are not meant to combine. They're meant to be separate. So we are trying to navigate that by putting in some pieces of equipment around the perimeter, so the students don't necessarily go on to the bigger equipment. A lot of the things we can try and navigate through, working with Joy and her staff, especially when it does come to the bathrooms, we can look at putting in some lower sinks. We're looking at doing that anyway. So it's just, I think once we get through this process, and then looking at, you know, is it a 3-year commitment and doing things that make sense? And quite honestly, we should be doing some of these things in our bathrooms anyway, especially on the ADA side. But that's something that we can definitely work on. And if we find some projects that are, let's say, beyond our dollar amount, our $35,000, absolutely we'll bring it to the board. And maybe it might make sense too that when I meet with Joy and she go over those concerns, board update, to let you know what we found and how we can resolve those issues.
But and thank you, Mr. Winters, and I would just want to articulate that I don't believe it is this or that in this particular case. We know we are going to have issues to address as we move over the course of this next 3 years. If it is making the early childhood bathrooms more appropriately sized for our early childhood students, or if it's the roof at Meehan, or any number of other things that are going to come up. We again are going to need to prioritize each one of those projects, but safety is obviously always going to be first, which is part of the reason, for example, we have the secure vestibules as part of every single one of the projects that we have listed here for our schools. So it really is not a matter of we are going to do this or we are going to do that. It is a matter of this gives us direction on that big initial scope so that we can in fact be proactive as opposed to responsive and reactive as situations come up. That doesn't mean we won't need to be responsive and reactive as situations come up, but this puts us in a much better situation moving forward. Mrs. Armstrong.
I think it's important to remember too that what we are looking at allocating in health, life, safety, and potential from what I received from the board last time in fund balance transfers, that O&M, the operations and maintenance fund, still has a budget that they're still going to be using. And some of those dollars are going to be committed to some of these projects, but they still have to have their necessary repairs and their emergencies. We're not taking all of their budget dollars annually and putting it into the master plan. They are still going to have those types of things. So he's been doing, Mr. Winters has been doing projects such as some of the things already on this list and crossed those off and said they're already completed. So we've seen some savings there, which then would translate to freeing up those dollars for other projects here. So there is still, this isn't, as Dr. Shuck said, not an all or nothing. There's still funds there to address some of those issues.
But I looked at, and I didn't notice it until today, so I apologize for that. We got the audit report or the report from Gorans. I looked at the operation and maintenance fund. We budgeted way more than we spent.
So we actually had a deficit last year. We went $2 million over.
That's when I look at the revenue.
Yeah, you had $9 million
For fund
we
revenues.
spent 11.
So we budgeted for 12 million. We thought we'd get 12. We got 9.
No, we,
Total revenue and other sources, 9.4, and the budget was 12.2. And then the total expenditures were 11 to 13 something.
yep, so our actual revenues came in less. So we had budgeted $1 million deficit
Okay.
in what we expected for budget revenues versus expenditures. And we came in just under 2 million over expenditures for our actuals. So we came in under what we projected budget-wise, but we came in under both on revenues and expenditures. So we still had a $2 million deficit budget, actual experience in O&M last year.
And I just wanted to remind everyone, in our September 13th board update, Dr. Shug gave us a really good EC facility needs list that includes all of the items that Dr. Baumann talked about at the facilities meeting and many more. They're broken down between challenges that we can solve in our existing sites and challenges that can't be adequately addressed at our existing sites. So I know EC is going to be one of the things we talk about coming up shortly. But does anyone have any more comments on our priority projects list here?
I'll make one last comment, is that for me, this is my own personal opinion, is that when we look at the process, I do agree with Ms. Mava when she talked about some of the issues of the process at the last board meeting. Don't think she's wrong. Actually, I agree with her. But I also think that even those high school things at the last minute showed there were some flaws in the process. And I don't want to penalize kids for that. I mean, I think that we approve field trips all the time when the process isn't followed because we think it's for the best for kids. And I don't disagree with doing it. I mean, I wish we'd follow the process, and I wish people would turn their paperwork out on time, stuff like that. But once in a while, they don't. And we let it go anyway, even though it's not the process. I get that part. I also think this is an example of it kind of in a reverse way, is that I do agree with her on the process. I think the process, she's actually right. She talks about everybody ought to follow the process. They've had ample opportunities to do it, but somehow along the line, for whatever reason, they didn't. And for me, that's where it's a conundrum on, with approving it as a blanket thing, that we have this big bubble that I know we have to do it later, but I still think it's tantamount on approving it when we do it. That's just my opinion. That's my own personal opinion.
I agree mostly. I think I'm looking at it a little different. My concern is I understand this is all gonna come back to us, but we're still just doing kind of the lump sum of the next 3 years.
Correct.
My concern is, I mean, we have some things in here, you know, say the tracks and things. I mean, I think there's main things, the HVAC at a couple of the schools, the safety entrances, and a couple others, the track thing. Those things have to get done, and right away. And I hope, you know, if we vote on this thing as a whole, those are the top priorities that we should have. And Perry should all be the top priorities in this, and not get shuffled around after the fact.
And for certain, we would plan to walk through this as closely as we can to how it's laid out here. Absolutely.
And to Mr. Bucher, I mean, to all the stuff Mr. Bucher named, I'm not against any of that. I vote for all that tonight. I know we're not actually voting on that tonight separately, but I mean, I'm all in favor of all that.
Great.
So to that point, I would agree. We spent several months now looking at this priority projects list, coming up with those, both on the security side and some other health, life, safety type improvements. I guess I'm under the understanding that the administration is going to follow what this priority list is to the best that they can, right?
Correct.
Bring those exceptions to Joanne. Joanne will bring those back to the board for our approval. We need to make those. We need to make those exceptions or when those issues arise. I don't have a problem with approving this tonight. Even the additional $250,000 that was added for the high schools, the additional upgrades or they added to with that from that standpoint. But we need to get something approved now so that we can get some bids going out, RFPs, because that notice, we got to get notice this fall. We got to get that going so we can get contractors lined up for next summer, next summer work to begin some of this. And so, we've spent a few months looking at this list. We've talked about it. There are some great things that we're going to accomplish with this. I think we're at the right point in time to start moving forward with at least voting for this tonight. So.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have issues with the idea that we have known safety concerns, and I don't see those on any of the, and I understand some of it may come out of the budget. I get some of that may come out, it'll just come out of the operating budget. But I also understand that if they arise to a level that we can't support them out of the budget, it's going to change or pivot some of these other things that we all are here agreeing for the most part, although I'm not in line with the clinic at this point. We're only 2 more years on the insurance contract we have in place now, and we don't know what will happen to the clinic in 2 years. I mean, we'd like to think it would continue, or we'd have a different kind of clinic perhaps, but the last I remember, both in March and in May, you know, there was discussion about the fact that we didn't have consensus as a board around, not about not expanding things, you know, the program at Everest, but, you know I'm one of the people who said last month that as it sat, I was, you know, prepared to move forward and vote yes. I hadn't heard about these things brought up on Thursday. Yes, some of them have been brought up before. I'm not saying they haven't.
All of them.
I'm not saying that they haven't, but they rose to a level that well, I can't say who, I don't know who, but someone from early childhood came to the meeting to again proclaim their concerns surrounding these safety, or were they labeled as safety concerns? It sounds like they were labeled as safety concerns. And I would like to see, I don't see any of those on the priorities list, or have some assurance. Maybe Joanne knows, maybe Mr. Winters knows. We can afford all the things that need to be done for early childhood, these concerns that they have, not all, I get we're not doing everything, we're not building a building.
Well, and I do want to just provide a little bit of additional context there. I think the concerns were being brought up because there was a feeling of urgency around looking at an early childhood center. That we know that the spaces provided at Washington and Caledonia, where, you know, they've been good spaces for learning, and we have wonderful team and staff working there, that there is some concern. As you can see, every month we have our early childhood staff come because they are advocating for, I hope I'm not misspeaking, for having an early childhood center, because the buildings that we currently have are simply not fit to these very youngest learners. We've made a significant investment in staff and facilities over the past 2 years to grow that early childhood program. So the concerns weren't brought up, I don't think, in any way, shape, or form to halt the forward progress of the master plan. They were brought up to encourage the board to consider moving forward with an early childhood center sooner than later. So I just want to provide that little bit of additional context. Of course, the board can ask us to come back in November with some additional priority projects around early childhood. If we, between now and when we will be considering that early childhood center, we can absolutely do that. I would ask us to consider not holding up for another month so that we can start the process of that, as well as start the process of the fund balance transfer. But certainly we want to do due diligence to all of the concerns that are out there.
And I do want to note that some of those concerns involve issues that cannot be addressed in our current buildings, full stop. So the administration cannot come back next month and solve all of those concerns. They cannot.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I do understand that part. But for me, I think in my world, there's a distinction between between challenging and safety. That we can't have safety concerns, period. That's our number one goal. And we should fix that. Whether I agree with it or disagree with it, on whether we build a building, don't build a building, or what, it has actually no material on this at all. It's immaterial to this at all. I'm looking at it is, if there are safety concerns, we're not gonna have a new building for 2 or 3 years anyway, even on the best of circumstances, probably 3. That's if we decided to do it now, or think about doing it now, which we haven't done. So we're looking at using these buildings for at least 3 years, probably minimum, maybe longer. So I guess my point is, if there really are, if it isn't if the playground isn't big enough or something, I get that part. But if there's items on the playground that aren't safe, or there's items in someplace else that aren't safe, or kids are getting hurt, that's different. I get there's a difference between we'd like to have better versus something that's really, that we actually should be doing, because those are our youngest kids we have. So maybe I got it all wrong, maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but that's what I'm concerned about.
Mr. Winters, have you been in touch with Ms. Bauman, Dr. Bauman, regarding safety issues at EC?
Yeah, we met last week.
Okay. Are you going to be able to address those safety issues with in our current budget.
I believe so. You know, again, I'm getting that balance. I'm not gonna go in and remodel a bathroom all for EC. I'm talking about a common bathroom all for EC when we have taller students. So it's that balance, and I feel confident that we can work through that, with Dr. Bellman to try and find that common sense approach. Again, boring sinks, smaller toilets, just some common sense things, a couple different things around the playground. You know, the beauty of this plan is it's a 3-year plan. The board has already been doing the work about these emergency things with the boilers. You know, with the roofs, you just approved maintenance grant, for us to apply for a maintenance grant for $140,000. That is for VHS. That's off of this list. So we're doing the work. We're trying to minimize the emergencies that pop up, but they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there. They're always going to pop up. That's how we react to them. That's why we're doing this, because we want to take away all of those things that happen at midnight, those roof issues, those boiler issues. Right now, our biggest thing was boiler issues. The board spent a lot of money taking that away. So we're still working on it, but again, the beauty of this plan is that we can make it somewhat flexible as far as what projects we do when we do the economy of scale.
Do you think the cost of doing those fixes in EC, will that fit within your annual budget? You know, your normal sort of repairs and upgrades, or is that something we should add money into this to do?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the remodel of some of the bathrooms, you know, the ones in the classrooms, the ones, the common areas, taking the china out. I think that most of it can be added, for my budget, you know, again, because I don't want to go from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do think that working with Ms. Armstrong, we can make it happen. It's not going to be overnight, but, nothing happens overnight.
I understand.
I guess my last question is, and I'm done, is that, is there a reason why, I know we have to prove them separately, I get that part, I do understand that part, but why couldn't we just approve the stuff that, I understand we need to go out to bid, I don't wanna hold anything up, certainly don't wanna hold up the boilers and the secure entryways and stuff like that, not by any stretch of the imagination, or was ever my intent, but why couldn't we just vote on the stuff that we have to bid on, or approve that now, or say that's what we wanna do, and the other stuff, I mean, I'm even willing to do the boiler for South that we're not even gonna do work on for 2 more years. I mean, I get that part, I mean, but I guess, and I asked that question Thursday too, is that some of this stuff really doesn't have to be decided today. It could be decided later, we're just deciding it today because, I don't wanna say we want to, but it's not urgent to decide some of this stuff today. Some is. The secure entrances, the boiler at Washington and stuff like that, that's urgent. Whether we're gonna do it Perry's, you know, could be considered the urgent care. That's stuff we have to do if we're gonna do it.
I think it's akin to doing a budget. You know, you can do a budget for a week and a month and a year, and then you've got your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, and your budget for the month and the year are more certain. But that doesn't mean that you don't plan out for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, because if you don't have some long-range planning, with the idea that things will be flexible, you could lose your job, you could get a big raise, you could get a hailstorm and your roof caves in. But that's why I do think it's important to have somewhat of a plan, because it lets us see, big picture. So I don't think it would be prudent to sit here tonight and pick out the things that we're going to approve tonight and things that we're not. We've been talking about this for months and months and months. There's nothing on here that's extravagant or this is, named priority projects for a reason. Do I have a motion regarding either the priority projects list or the priority projects with high school additions? Do I have a list to approve either one of them, or a motion to approve either one of them?
So moved with the addition of the high school.
All right. I will second that. Do we have discussion? Any more discussion?
Well, bigger picture, when we're looking at this, right? We're also looking at the funding mechanism. So we need to go back out to, Mrs. Armstrong needs to go back out and work with Stiefel on the health by safety pieces. We also need to approve our transfer and the fund balance as well. And so there's steps involved with that. And again, I think we've been talking for several months now about this priority list. We have a dollar amount in mind that we can work off of, but you also need to get the process going for many, again, for how we put this together financially in our financial packet, working with Stiefel and our own fund balance transfer. So things that will come up, I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to address based on our O&M budget, fund balances, and of course, working with our experts on staff that are working closely with our administrators and administrative team to address some of those safety issues as they come up. I would vote in favor of moving forward with this tonight.
Well, I would say that, and I'm not sure, I'm honestly not sure how I'm gonna vote in literally 2 minutes, I'm sure. But I agree, I don't disagree at all that we will pivot if we need to pivot. If Ms. Mayville's example of the roof falling in at Perry, or whatever she said, Meehan, whatever school it was, happens, we're gonna pivot and we're gonna do what we have to do, put the roof on at that school. I'm saying these are not something that are going to come up. These are known things now. And so I would hope, and I know none of us would be able to live with ourselves if we said, okay, well, yeah, we'll get to it. We're going to get to it. We can't do it right away, but we'll get to it. And God forbid, we had a kid who was really hurt in a building because of these, known issues that exist. We can't fix them all overnight, and I accept and I hear that. But I think we should be putting wheels on the cart pretty quickly to address issues where we have kiddos in classrooms that are, causing concern to their, teachers and paras. So I would certainly hope within very short order, we would start to hear how through either the budget or a reallocation of money or a reprioritization of the projects that are going to be bid out, that we would take things that are already known, not things that could crop up and be reprioritized, but these are already known things that should be on everybody's radar. It sounds like some people are talking about it, and be proactively moved forward, dollars allocated, money spent, changes made to address these issues that are safety concerns or potential safety concerns.
And to your point, I'm not against the transfer of money, and I'm not against the life safety stuff. I mean, I'll vote for that next month, transfer of money. I'm not trying to hold that up either.
All right, any further discussion? I would note that this includes the Perry Tier 2 items as well, relocating the main office, relocating, removing stairs, renovating bathrooms, creating dedicated special ed spaces, relocating, renovating some learning spaces. So it's Perry Tier 1 and then those Tier 2 items as well. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
No.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No.
All right, motion passes 4-2. Next up, AI Guidance Committee proposal. Is this a Dr. Carson item?
We're going to form a committee as AI is expanding and to develop some guidance around our strengths and principles and how we incorporate AI into our classrooms, into our workspaces, to make that as seamless and effective and safe as possible.
Any questions or comments?
I would just like to say that Dr. Carson has done an excellent job with this and the next agenda item that he's going to talk about in terms of being really proactive regarding needs that we know are coming down the line and really thinking about what the possible impact of AI is going to be on our district, our students and our families. So I appreciate the forward thinking on this and the work that I think will transpire here, which will be really important and impactful. So I just wanted to share that.
All right, anything further? Roll call, please.
I don't have a
Do we need a motion?
Oh.
So,
Do
I'll make
I
that
have
motion.
I apologize. Do I have a motion to approve the AI Guidance Committee proposal as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
All right, Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
And Ms. Mabel.
Aye. All right, next up, middle school success criteria proposal. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the middle school success criteria proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Herrera and Mr. Zicker. Dr. Carson, any comments?
This is just taking the opportunity to take a look at the practices we have in place to help kids be successful in middle school. So looking at our current practices in middle school and also leveraging the work that we've been doing on either end in our elementary schools and our high schools. So I'm really excited to dig in with a team of middle school staff to improve the opportunities we provide our middle schools.
And I think for both this, let's see, for both this item and the previous item, you've asked for a board member if interested to be participating. So if anybody has interest in participating in either one of these committees, talk to Dr. Carson. I've participated on a couple of sort of similar committees over the years, and they're a great way to get to know our staff, to kind of it's very interesting to sort of get down into the weeds and learn more about what happens in our buildings and hear from our staff what's going on in our buildings. So I'd encourage anyone who has the time and the inclination to sit on one or both of these committees.
I think this is a real important thing too. I mean, for years, it's been a conundrum of what to do. In middle school, there are no credits, there are no requirements for promotion. There's no real requirement for summer school. I mean, they try and convince kids to go, but they don't have to. They don't want to, and I think we have to really be innovative in this, because I've seen this problem for 40 years. I mean, I came from the generation when I first started teaching 40 years ago, that where I came from in Winnebago, kids stayed in middle school till they passed. They had to pass a certain number of credits like high school, and we had 17-year-old kids in middle school. I had a young lady one time ask me where the student parking lot was, because she was getting her driver's license and wanted to drive to school. Now, I don't think they legally could have done that back, but that was a question I got. So I do think we've had these problems for years, and nobody's come up with a great solution to it, in my opinion, yet. So I'm really applaud the fact that we're really trying. But I do think in this, we really got to think outside the box too, because there's a lot of mechanisms moving in this. It could get expensive. And I'm not advocating for us not to try some of those. I'm a physical conservative. Everybody knows that. But I also know that if we let this fester to high school, it just compounds the problem. And we have to solve it someplace. And this is better than trying to solve it 4 years later, or 3 years later, I guess, I would say. So I do applaud the effort of doing it. But I do think we have to really look at some successful programs of other places around and how they've pulled off this conundrum of getting the required knowledge in, yet not making kids stay there until I mean, to me, it's different than having a 15-year-old with an 18-year-old is one thing. To have a 12-year-old with a 16 or 17-year-old is a whole other thing. So I do think it's a challenging thing, and I applaud you for doing it. Hope we really can come up with a great solution like this that puts us on the map coming up with something else nobody else did.
Absolutely. And I do just want to comment on the format. I know that this board has been always especially concerned with process and making sure we're following processes. You can see in this AI proposal as well as the middle school success criteria proposal that this familiar format that you will be seeing in all similar projects, which is that we bring to the board at the beginning of the project the proposal, the timeline, when we're bringing it back so that the board stays informed throughout each of those process pieces. And that is the rationale. This isn't something that we would necessarily need to bring to the board for approval. It is something we are choosing to bring to the board for approval at the beginning so that you're informed throughout all of those steps and then feel comfortable approving what it is that comes out at the end, or hopefully feel comfortable approving what the result of that is, which is also the reason having a board member on one of these teams would be, one or both of these teams would be really appreciated and I think worthwhile for the board member as well as for the committee.
All right, roll call please. Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Ms. Maybell.
Aye. Next up, do I have a motion and a second to approve the 24-25 school scorecards as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Herrera and Mr. Bucher. Any discussion or comments from admin?
These are our annual scorecards for the schools. They mirror the district scorecard that you approved last month. We brought these to the Ed Services Committee. You'll see that our elementary and middle schools are keeping their focus on math improvement. Our high schools maintain the focus on improving graduation rate, and then all of our schools are focused on reducing our major incidents, which we had a lot of success with last year, and so it's going to be much more of a challenge this year to see some improvement, but we're confident.
As we look forward to these two, is that, I mean, I know I got kind of not taken to school, but on the fact that I missed an opportunity a couple of years ago to bring up talking about academic achievement, which I think I've talked probably more about academic achievement than anybody has, but over the last 7 or 8 years at least. But I know our scores are in for this year. I know they're quarantined until October 31st, as it always is. I get that. We have designations and stuff, but I do want to make sure that we actually do talk about them when they become unquarantined, so to speak, and that whether it be, I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, I know November is tough, but we need to look at where we're at and how we performed last year compared to the year before to have a real understanding. And I know we've seen the scores. I mean, I know the public can't see them, but the scores are there. I mean, people can look at the scores now in the administration. So based on whatever those results are, I hope there's mechanisms going that will look at what we did well on and what we need to improve on, and preliminary plans on how we're going to address that. And then when we do talk about it in public in a month or two, we can hear some of that at that time too.
That's the exact plan.
Okay.
So, yep, every year we bring it to Ed Services in November, and then it'll come to the November board meeting. But we actually talked about that today. That's the plan. You are correct. We've been able to view the preview data, and we're beginning to prep what some of that looks like in our standard operating procedures that we do annually. So, next month.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
And Ms. Maybell.
Aye. Next up, do I have a motion and a second to approve the Stronger Connections Grant as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I'm going to abstain because I have a connection to KP Counseling, so that'd be the only reason why.
All right. Anything further?
Just, we were very excited to be able to get this grant. This was something we had worked on last spring. We know it's been really concerning, across the nation. All of the data is showing the need for mental health support, specifically in our schools. And, I would say the blessing of receiving a grant like this is that we're able to, try this out. We're able to watch it, to monitor it, before we begin to determine whether or not to search for additional funding to continue a program like this. So what is being approved here is the contract obviously is over the $35,000 threshold, so we're looking for approval. We are hoping to start in November, so that is our goal because the grant wraps up in June. So we only have it for this year.
And I want to also say, last year, as you may recall, we put Effective School Solutions in at Central Middle School, and there was a feeling on the part of the administration as well as on the part of the board that we also wanted to provide supports at our other schools that looked similar. Dr. Johnson really took it upon herself to search out a grant and to bring this here to the board today and submit that grant previously. She's done all the legwork on that. Of course, in consultation with many other of our staff, but I think this is a fantastic thing for our students and is definitely in line with the direction of the board when we approved Effective School Solutions last year.
Again, I'm not going to say, but I am going to say, one of the things I find most impressive about this is what I would love, and I know it's not always possible, but this indicates that there are 2 candidates that have already been identified to work with our kids. And we've had so many issues in the past where we approve something and then it takes 4 months to get that for them to, get positions staffed. And so I think whatever Dr. Johnson and the team she worked with, whether it was choice of the company that they work with or whatever, that we use that as a blueprint for how we come as in the future with things as pre-staffed as we can so that we can get these things up and running and going more quickly. And I get it. There's shortages of staff for, everything from, speech pathologists to occupational therapists to, psychologists. But to be ready to be locked and loaded and started in November with pre-identified staff, that should really be a benchmark for how these things come forward, in my opinion, going forward.
Thank you. And you may recall that the board approved those staff members via the ROE last year, so put us in a great spot for this.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Abstain.
And Ms. Maybell.
Aye. All right, next up, do I have a motion to table item 14, notice to remedy for employee 102124-A?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Booker and Mr. Herrera. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Dieselmeyer.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Ms. Maybell.
Aye. All right, next up, board discussion, proposed high school course catalog changes. Dr. Carson?
Just first, I want to give some kudos to Dr. Valance. She's done a wonderful job navigating this process. It's required a lot of her time and energy, work with our staff, and she's done a marvelous job with that. And so what was presented at Services is brought to you tonight, which are some modifications to some existing courses. You see there are 3 of those, some new courses to be added, and then 1 course to be eliminated, but please note that's a trade-off, being replaced by another course that's on the new course. So we reviewed those at Services last month. We started this process a few years ago to bring them to the board for discussion before we bring it to you for approval. So we'll take this back to Ed Services for the upcoming meeting and then bring it back to the board in November for final approval. Just wanted to provide an opportunity for any questions or discussion you'd like to have about the course catalog changes proposed.
I just wanted to briefly highlight production tech that we're pairing with Amped-On Algebra. That will be sort of it'll be a hands-on class that will pair with the algebra class. My understanding that students will be sort of learning algebra in a very hands-on, practical manner. They'll get the same content that they will in a regular algebra class, but it'll be sort of a different way of learning algebra that will probably appeal to a lot of our students, and not everybody learns in the same way. So I think it'll be another option for our kids with some of these math courses that can be pretty challenging, a way to show them how the algebra can be practical in real world experience. So I'm super excited about that. And we learned at Ed Services that we are looking at sort of being able to roll that up eventually to a geometry class, for instance, or trigonometry class. So I think that's super.
Just a quick question on that, is the class gonna be called Hampton Algebra, or is it gonna be called Production Tech Hampton Algebra? The reason I'm asking is, I'm not trying to mince it, but having gone through this a lot, the Illinois Schools Code specific about you have to take Algebra 1, and you have to take it in high school. That's what it says. Now, we maneuvered around that before, but, so I'm worried about the naming of it, because we'll get lit up by ISB later for that. I'm not against the course, I'm just talking about the name.
Yeah, so they would be getting two separate credits, an algebra credit and a production tech credit. So in terms of the course codes,
So is it gonna
more
be,
of a program is what the.
is it gonna be a 2-credit class, or, so it'll be a 2-hour class?
Correct.
Okay, all right. My other question was on the trig versus pre-calc. Make it trig a semester versus pre-calc for a year. Back in the day before pre-calc, we used to take pre-calc, or we used to take trig in Algebra 3 as kind of a half and half kind of thing. I guess I'm a little nervous about losing a semester of math for kids when our math scores are not good. I mean, our math scores are bad. I mean, I've talked about this before, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said before. We got 1 in 8 of our kids at grade level in 11th grade in math. I'm nervous knowing that we're gonna cut a semester of math out. So that's my only, I'm not against trig at all. I think trig's a great course, and my guess is trig was part of pre-calc before anyway. I'm more concerned with the semester versus the year. And what are we doing to replace that math credit? Because kids need 3 years of math credit.
We'll still maintain, we have, College Board started offering advanced placement pre-calc, so that year-long course offering will still be in place. This is replacing the non-AP version of it. And we do have several semester-long electives, math electives that can be paired with it. So we have statistics, we have financial algebra, and we have a transition math class. So students would have other math classes they could pair with the trigonometry class to make a full year of math course.
Okay. I guess my only concern is that, from what I can tell, it seems like we're reducing the rigor a little on this. That's what concerns me a little, is that, I mean, I do get, we have other, I 100% understand that, but we push the rigor because we want all these kids in AP classes, and we push that really, really hard. And now we're taking an opportunity to reduce that a little. But that's just my opinion. In an area that we really have not done well in.
We
How
can
did
certainly
that-
take that feedback back.
I was gonna ask how that change came about. Is that something that was proposed by the math department?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Oh, it's just
Oh,
discussion.
oh. You're right.
Getting ahead of
We're
ourselves.
coming back for
Getting all
that
excited. Okay.
next month.
Upcoming contract renewals and reports. Anything to highlight, Dr. Shug?
Nope, nothing to highlight there.
Okay, and I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Shug for any administrative report.
I'm just really quickly gonna fly through our superintendent comments, which is mostly highlighting homecoming. I hope you had an opportunity to see some of our homecoming week activities for BHS and for North High School. Our attendance has just been over the top at the games, at the parades. They've been I had the opportunity to meet with the student councils from both North and BHS, and they talked about how excited they were about sort of the reinvigoration of school spirit that was happening, and that they'd seen record attendance at the games. And certainly, if you were at homecoming, you saw that. It was fantastic. So really, really wonderful couple first weeks of school. Also, we had illustrator Ed Steckley visit CMS. Thanks to a grant from the District 100 Foundation for Excellence in Education. That grant opportunity is going to be coming up for our staff again, so we encourage staff to apply for those grants. There's also the opportunity to contribute towards that foundation as well, directly from your paycheck. CMS also, boys and girls cross country team wins the IESA sectional cross country meets. Super exciting. And similarly, Belvedere High School golf. Emma Pearson finished her high school season shooting a 79 and 77, placing her 24th overall at the IHSA state finals. Really extraordinary. The co-op team had a record-breaking season. Really just fantastic. And you've heard a lot about it. Get out to see Little Women. It's going to be a fantastic production without any doubt. And lots of other good things going on in the district as well. Any questions on any of that? Your strategic plan updates are the next item there. I will not walk through all of them, but it definitely is worth your while to take a look at the monthly presentation, which you can click right in there, and it'll give you the updates on each one of those 5 goal areas. You will also note that at each one of our committee meetings, we are highlighting the progress in each one of those goal areas. So wanting to keep that strategic plan focus in front of us at all times. I will also highlight that goal 3, we are going to be meeting with our family and community partnerships action planning team next week. So we are excited to be getting that work moving forward as well. Lots of work happening in our goals 1, 2, 4, and 5 as well. I will highlight in terms of goal 5 that our teacher sub-fill rate is 13% ahead of where it was last year at this time. 14%.
Go for.
Oh, did I say go 5? Go 4. Go 4. I thought the percentage had changed. Go 4. But really getting some great feedback on our sub-pool moving forward as well. So that, I think, is all I need to highlight in our reports for you tonight.
Goodbye to Kelly, right?
Unless anybody has any questions.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So Mr. Burr and Mr. Booker. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.